Part 10. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 91. In addition to the trauma, there was also a slight soreness inside the body, and a dull pain like tearing. It was obvious that the muscles had been injured due to overexertion. And the most important thing is, the blood balloon on the chest and abdomen has shrunk a lot, and it seems that treating injuries and helping to temporarily increase the defense have taken a lot of work on it. Garen had a vague feeling that if the blood balloon was consumed too much, it would probably collapse directly, and it would be almost impossible to recover after it collapsed. It will definitely cause a drop in realm level, and may even cause serious physical weakness. Since having the blood balloon, his abilities in all aspects have been significantly improved. His physical fitness has not improved in attributes, but his explosive defense, reaction speed, comprehension, etc. have all undergone huge changes. Therefore, although his attributes have not changed, his actual strength has not changed. Improved by at least one level. It seems you have to be careful when using this thing. Garen's body slowly shrank and returned to its original shape. He took off the damaged black coat from Ni and put it on. Although it was also torn, it was better than not wearing it at all. After taking a final look at the corpse on the ground, Garen breathed a sigh of relief, completely relaxed his body and readjusted. Ni is definitely a master at the same level as him. Most masters don't have the strength to hurt him, let alone pose a threat to him. But Nishi did it. If the blood balloon hadn't worked, Garen would have been seriously injured even if he killed him. The secret martial arts of Nishi are very powerful. Not only does it increase the speed and explosive power, but also the strength is increased to a terrifying level. When it explodes, it can even easily break through Garen's defensive hard Kigong explosive punch. If he hadn't been able to keep breaking out, it seemed like every breakout would cause some damage to his body. I guess we still don't know who would win this battle. This time, we have completely fallen out with the Star Ring section. There is also the Star Ring sect's senior brother, Andrila, the #1 master in the south. A junior fellow disciple of the inverse 10 stars is so powerful, Andrila. I'm afraid I'm not a match for the time being. Garen roughly estimated his strength, and became increasingly fearful of the Star Ring sect. The Star Ring sect used snipers, serial masters to block, and finally the inverse Shixing directly blocked him. He blocked himself continuously. I am afraid that the purpose was to provoke me to take the first action, so that the Star Ring sect would have a reason to intervene directly. Otherwise, if you interfere even though you have clearly stated that you maintain a neutral position, you will be breaking the rules. If Baiun sect takes action first, it will put an extra layer of fig leaf on their face. It's really hypocritical, Garen sneered. I'm afraid you didn't expect that Ni Shixing would die in my hands, but if he hadn't been stupid and made a provocation in the end, I might not have been able to kill him. The Star Ring sect is different from other sections. There are many masters on the surface, plus Andrila, the #1 master in the south, as well as countless powerful forces in the dark. This is really a huge thing. When facing an opponent like this, even Garen's strong self-confidence due to his supernatural talent would feel heavy pressure. He didn't know how many star rings a level master like Ni Shixing had, but as long as 2 more came, he wouldn't be able to withstand it. He is the strongest person in the 12 southern sects, much stronger than other students and disciples, and it is estimated that many sect leaders are no match for him. Even with such strength, it would be so difficult to deal with a somewhat famous disciple of the Star Ring section. This is obviously a difference in martial arts level. He has trained Juxiang Maiwu to an unprecedented level, and he only narrowly defeated Nishi. And he has reached his end, reaching the limit of this secret martial art. Although the victory or defeat in fighting depends not only on the level of martial arts, but also on other factors such as will, strategy, reaction, etc. But martial arts definitely accounts for the majority. Disciples like Ni Shixing have definitely not reached the level of blood balloons, but they are actually vaguely able to temporarily reach this level of strength through special methods. Obviously this is the effect of the Star Ring sect's secret martial arts. Garen felt a little gloomy. He didn't know how many disciples of this level there were in the Star Ring sect. I don't want to think so much anymore. Let's go back first. We don't have time to think about this now. Garen quickened his pace and headed back the way he came. Click. Just after walking out of the back of the house, Garen's expression froze. There were more than a dozen black submachine guns pointed at him in front of him. Not only that, he also vaguely felt that there were more than a dozen people whose eyes were focused on him from a distance. That was the line of sight of snipers. Not far away, there are green armored personnel carriers, which are shaped like a parallelogram, with a black and white striped flag pattern printed on the side, and a black bird with spread wings on the white striped part. This is the flag of the Federation of Asia. The main thing that kept Garen from moving was the sight of the dozen snipers. The sniper bullet just now has proved that this powerful rifle has the ability to break through his defense and cause a certain degree of damage to him. If more than 10 submachine guns are added to the mix, Garen cannot guarantee that he can defeat him at such a close distance. Survive successfully. In the dense rain of bullets, the wounds that have already broken through the defense will be torn bigger and bigger, and even he will be unable to escape. No matter how fast a person is, he cannot be faster than a bullet. He quickly glanced at the group of submachine gun soldiers in front of him. They were all dressed in dark green and wore round steel helmets, which were also green. He was fully armed, with a magazine chain strapped diagonally across his body, and there was even a grenade bag around his waist. What to do? Garen's mind turned around in various ways, but at this moment he was surrounded by so many guns, even he couldn't escape successfully. Elder brother! Run! They are going to kill you, Kaling, one of the people being held in the distance, suddenly shouted loudly. The words have not yet finished. Garen suddenly felt a stinging pain in the middle of his eyebrows, and a creepy sense of danger instantly surged throughout his body, and dense goosebumps appeared all over his skin. Someone wants to kill him. The blood balloons in his chest and abdomen rolled rapidly, and he saw an officer in dark green military uniform not far away with a cold face holding a huge, dark, heavy sniper rifle, aiming steadily at him. His hand is already on the trigger and he's about to pull it. Without any hesitation, a large cloud of sand rose up from under Garen's feet without any warning. Bang 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 bang. The sound of submachine gunfire suddenly rang out. In just an instant, countless submachine guns opened fire, and the fierce gunfire directly overwhelmed all sounds. At this time, Garen was standing on the spot, looking at the Federal soldiers lying on the ground in front of him in astonishment. Groups of soldiers in brown uniforms behind them surrounded all the soldiers in green uniforms. Compared with the soldiers in green uniforms, these soldiers in brown uniforms are obviously much better trained. They are still in command and movement, and there is no unnecessary sloppiness in their movements. They are all powerful, experienced in action, and fully armed. They have obviously been in the military. Veterans of the battlefield. Looking at the sniper officer lying on the personnel carrier in the distance, his head was tilted to one side, and blood was slowly flowing out of a bullet hole in his temple. Caesarion, the commander of the 6th Army of the South, is suspected of treason, trafficking in important national intelligence, selling federal ordnance, privately using military force to achieve private interests, etc. The evidence is conclusive and he will be punished for several crimes. He has been arrested in the name of the Southern High Command. The Legion commander's personal guards showed no intention of repenting, and have all been killed. All soldiers of the 6th Legion, put down their weapons and obey the arrangements. A clear male voice came slowly from a distance, unhurriedly. Galen walked out. Hey! Garen, long time no see. The 6th Golden Ring's red hair was flipping like flames, with a frivolous smile on his face. He was dressed in a neat brown military uniform and black leather gloves. On the right shoulder, a silver epaulet clearly shows his position. 4 bars and 1 dot, silver on a black background, this is the rank of colonel. Garin finally let out a long sigh of relief. The surrounding soldiers automatically began to collect the corpses and make way for them. Garin walked directly to the 6th golden ring, and the two stood 1 meter apart. I haven't paid back the favor for my sister last time, so I owe you one again this time, Garin said, a little embarrassed. Just in time, I also have something to trouble you with. If you help me, how about I return the favor, the 6th golden ring said with an unserious smile. What a busy job. But I have to practice for a while first. The 6th golden ring looked at Garin's embarrassment and injuries. Of course I have to wait for you to reply before I start. I'm not in a hurry. That's no problem, Garin readily agreed. Let's go. We'll arrange a car to take you back first. You can't stay here for long. The Star Ring sect is very powerful here. I can only temporarily remove one of their helpers. Report to the commander. The body of Nishi seen from the Star Ring sect was found behind, and an officer walked to the 6th golden ring and reported. Oh, the 6th golden ring's eyes suddenly widened, and he was stunned for a moment, then looked at Garin with a smile but not a smile. Okay, you. Garin smiled bitterly. Stop talking, I almost fell into trouble. Did it cause trouble for you? For some reason, he could faintly feel that the brown soldiers around him were looking at him with a hint of respect. The 6th golden ring also felt it and smiled. We who practice martial arts, no matter what kind of personality we have, will be prone to impulsiveness due to the constant abundance of strong blood in our bodies. So you don't know that the more powerful the individual soldiers are, the more likely they are to cause trouble. Having a powerful force in the body for a long time, but not being able to use it, this kind of frustration will become more and more depressed people's psychology. That's why it is easy to be impulsive. Just beat him to death, the Star Ring sect will not do it for such a person. The minor character fell out with me. You are just too depressed, and it would be a good adjustment to release it this time. The more powerful a person is, will he have psychological problems if he is suppressed for a long time? Garin looked strange, vaguely remembering the madness of his senior sister. That's true. Of course, there are some people who have very strong spiritual cultivation and can ignore this situation. But there are very few people like that. The 6th golden ring turned around and said, let's go, let's talk while walking. Garin nodded. I'll go explain it to my junior brothers and sisters first. Good. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 92. In another small building on the roadside, in a dark room. The old man and the woman stood in front of the window, looking down through the gap in the curtains. They are from the Special Forces. How come they are here? The old man with white hair and beard asked in confusion. Who is that officer? I saw him at a banquet. He seemed to be Colonel Sulin of the Special Forces. It is said that he relied on his parents to gain a foothold in the army. Why is he here if he doesn't go to the Honeyview Hotel to play with women? The pale woman was equally puzzled. It seems that he is a friend of Garin. Is he trying to win people's hearts to get a thug? A young man didn't go to eat, drink or have fun, but suddenly brought people to the outskirts of the city to save people? It seems that the relationship is not shallow, the old man whispered. I know something about Sulin. His parents dote on him very much. They try their best to find him whatever he wants. Anyway, there is an eldest brother who is supporting the family business, and his eldest brother also dotes on him very much. He is considered a Mobi. He is the treasure of the SI family. It's just that he doesn't live up to his expectations and doesn't learn anything. He just knows how to eat, drink and have fun, the woman whispered in a sarcastic tone. I didn't expect Bayanman to hook up with this guy. It's a good fortune for them. It's not bad that the power of the Star Ring sect has been cut off. We have paid so much and they only put in a little effort. That would be too unfair, the old man smiled. But this gallon is really hidden deep enough. Sulin has always been arrogant and spoiled to the point where he doesn't allow anyone to disobey him. He is very difficult to get along with. I didn't expect that he could actually talk to this gallon. Sulin Linke is famous for being domineering, and domineering. The woman looked down at Garin and Sulin, chatting and laughing, then got into a black car and left under the protection of their personal guards. The disciples of the Bayun sect and the disciples of the two following sects got into the car and left together. Let's go, Bayun sect is safe for the time being, and two sects have been saved. We can't do anything here. The old man turned around and prepared to leave the window. Wait. What is that? The woman suddenly whispered. Her eyes were fixed on a body being carried out from behind the building in the distance. Then that's the reverse 10-star? Isn't it? What? The old man quickly returned to the window and looked down. Ni Shixing's body was being carried into a car by several soldiers. For a moment, a chill ran down both of their spines. Look at each other. Inverse Shixing is actually dead. It seems that we have all underestimated this Bayun Gate gallon. The old man's deep voice sounded slowly. Fortunately we didn't go down, otherwise it would be a question whether we could come back alive. The strongest man in the southern 12 sects is indeed extraordinary. He is already qualified to be included in the ranks of fighters, the pale woman murmured, took out a roll of maps from her arms, and unfolded it gently. I'll mark it right away. The white map is an enlarged map of the entire nearby provinces, and there are already several red dots marked in different places. The pale woman bit her index finger and pressed a blood spot on Grand Province, where Huaishan City is located. I didn't expect that once I came out, I could actually see the whole process of a fighter breaking through the limits of the human body. It was a worthwhile trip. The old man sighed slightly. On the yellow-green plain, a light yellow lane stretches until the end is invisible. Like a slender yellow ribbon. A black motorcade was driving slowly on the driveway. The fleet is entirely composed of black luxury cars, with delicate silver patterns tattooed on the body, and gorgeous carved hollow floral decorations extending from some water chestnut corners. On the front hood of the second black car, there is a dark gold decoration that looks like a hook, which represents the number 6. The carriage was large, with two young men sitting in the back seats. The man on the left has fiery red hair and a handsome face. He is wearing a brown military uniform of a school-level officer. He is playing with a lighter in his hand. He has a frivolous young man's temperament. The originally cold and serious military uniform also looks a little bit on him. Not in tune. The other person had short purple-black hair, dark red eyes, and was dressed in loose white clothes. His face was calm, and he had a tranquil and peaceful atmosphere. His eyebrows were a strange red-black color, and the original black eyebrows had been replaced by two scars. On the contrary, it added a strange sense of mystery to his whole person. These two people are the 6th Golden Ring and Garin, who are on their way back. Garin looked sideways at the yellow-green grassland that was constantly receding outside the window. The breeze was blowing the grass, causing layers of ripples like waves. What should I call you? He suddenly asked. The 6th Golden Ring closed the lighter with a snap. Just call me Sulin. To be honest, you and I really don't know. What's that old Eastern saying? Fate. Yes, it's fate. In fact, I didn't mean to help you last time, but it just happened. When I encountered that incident, I was angry again, so I solved it directly. This time, when I was busy with other things, I suddenly heard about you and gave you a hand. Do you think this is luck? I thought you would say that you came here specifically to help me. Garin shook his head and smiled. You are honest. Honesty has always been my virtue. Sulin, the 6th Golden Ring, chuckled. Your Bayun sect is in a lot of trouble this time, isn't it? Do you want my help? The trouble is not small, but these are trivial matters, And the main problem is my senior sister. Garen's face suddenly darkened as he thought of this. The eldest sister has always been kind to him. Although he felt that she had a weird temper, he never expected that she would betray the family. I got some news about your senior sister. She went to the Demon Elephant Gate. Sulin put away his smile and whispered. The Demon Elephant sect is a troublesome organization. Although it has the same name as your Kung Fu secret martial arts, their power is so powerful that no one can imagine. Demon Elephant Gate, Garen pondered, is it as strong as the Star Ring Gate? Absolutely. Sulin frowned, the Star Ring sect's background is too strong. Many of their disciples have a say in the federal army and high-level officials. As the strongest sect in the south, the Federation even has a complete special force. The Legion is trained and led by them. A complete legion. Garen's heart tightened. He knew the meaning of a legion. A complete legion would have at least tens of thousands of well-trained soldiers. This is a powerful force in the entire Federation. What's more, it's a special army. Sulin glanced at him and continued, moreover, many of the disciples of the Star Ring sect have joined the National Security Department, and among them there are not 10 but 9 masters like Ni Shixing. Garen narrowed his eyes to prevent the shock in his heart from showing. Sulin ignored this and continued talking. But fortunately, you have finally reached a new level. He suddenly smiled, not just anyone can break through the level of a fighter. Congratulations, Garen. Fighter level, Garen heard this term for the first time. Yes. Sulin glanced at the female soldier who was driving. This is no longer a secret. It is probably because your master is afraid that you will be distracted and doesn't want to tell you. He paused and continued, the so-called fighter is a martial artist who can truly train his body to the extreme level of the human body. Everyone who can become a fighter has skills that have been tempered over time and a strong and powerful body. They are the ultimate representative of all human beings. Every fighter has his own strengths, just like you are good at strength and defense. Garen was silent for a moment. Even if I enter the fighter level as you said, I can only deal with one master at the level of the inverse 10 stars. That's because you haven't really stabilized yourself yet. As for fighters, from the examples I know, every fighter has extremely strong physical fitness and vitality. Their resilience is amazing, and their strength is far beyond what normal people can train. The limit. In other words, in simple words, a fighter is a top master who is truly far superior to ordinary martial artists, and represents the limit of human physical evolution. Sulin answered sternly. If I'm not mistaken, after you go back, you will enter a period of strength improvement like a blowout. Garen nodded slowly. What he didn't actually say was that he had begun to improve. In the process of fighting all the way, he felt that his body was getting easier and easier to control, and his skills were becoming more and more proficient and natural. Occasionally, a kind of instinctive fighting experience will emerge, and a magical move will be made. So, you should know some masters at this level, right? He asked in a low voice. I know for sure. There are 42 people in the Federation who can be called fighters, and they are registered. There are probably more people who are not registered, but it should be estimated that there are 80 people. This is the highest number in the entire Federation. A group of powerful people. Ordinary firearms pose no threat to them. Only powerful thermal weapons can hurt them. How many people are there in the 80-member Federation? Garen didn't expect there to be so many masters. Last year's census showed that there were 160 million people. In other words, including the older generation of fighters, you have 1 out of 2 million people. But you don't have to worry, among these 80 people, there are at least 50 people who are old people from the previous generation. They are already very old. Most of them have gone to live in seclusion. I don't know how many are still alive. The only ones who are still active are the fighters who have appeared in the last 50 years. In other words, only nearly 30 people are active, and this is the total number of people combined overtly and covertly. Solin took the lighter and started lighting it up. According to the information I have now, there are 10 fighters on the surface, distributed throughout the 13 provinces of the Federation. Among them, the Southern Alliance represented by the Star Ring Gate has 5 people, and the Northern Alliance has 5 people. They are evenly matched. However, I feel like this should have been discussed behind the scenes by both parties, and it's just too much of a coincidence that only 5 people showed up. 5 people, Garen pondered. Through this calculation, these 5 people should be in the 2 sects of Star Ring Sect and Red Sand Sword. So where is Andrilla? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 93. I don't know. I've never seen him attack at full strength, so the outside world doesn't know his specific strength. But compared with the strength of the inverse Shixing, he should have entered the fighter level. You have to be careful. Because he is a newcomer, so he has not yet calculated enter the number of fighters. In addition, there are at least 2 or 3 older generation fighters in the Star Ring section. This is a huge force. It was originally possible to enter this level at the age of Nishi Seeing. It's a pity that you beat me to death, Solin said regretfully. If he doesn't die, I will die. Garen was speechless. He recalled the final fight with Nishi Seeing. If he hadn't been stupid and couldn't help but say harsh words, he probably wouldn't have been able to kill him in the end. Experts at this level are not like ordinary people who are seriously injured immediately after being hit by him. Instead, they have a strong ability to resist being hit, and their vitality is also amazing. If you go one more level. Garen had a slight headache, but more importantly, he felt an unusual excitement, which was a kind of expectation for a master who was evenly matched. Any true martial artist, especially young martial artists, has a strong love for martial arts fighting. The same goes for Garen. Although he has a lot less basic training time than ordinary martial artists, his love for martial arts is no worse than anyone else. From the beginning, he chose to embark on the path of martial arts instead of using his powers to develop social power. He just wanted to push himself to the limit as much as possible. Become a real martial artist. He wanted to see what peaks and heights human physical abilities could reach. This is an exploration of the limits. Fortunately, he has supernatural support. He is very aware of his talents. He is not a genius. If he were not gifted with special abilities, it would be difficult for him to even master martial arts. He is just an ordinary person with no extraordinary talent, so he cannot be distracted. It is impossible for a person to dream of reaching a very high level in all aspects. The result of distraction is that everything is only half-baked. It's like 2 geniuses starting from the starting point. One is focusing on only one subject, while the other is learning this and that. It won't take long for the gap to become obvious. As for saying that top geniuses can master everything, you have this talent. If you only study one subject, you don't know what top level you will reach. In fact, there is a huge explosion in the development of science in the world, and various disciplines are constantly being refined. It is basically impossible to master all of them. Galen knew from the beginning the direction he wanted to take. Are there any fighting masters near me? Garen came back to his senses and asked in a low voice. Solin put away the lighter and thought for a moment. There is one, in the Elisa province next to Grant. There is a fighter known as the White Bird Holy Fist, named Palasha. He lives in seclusion at the Skylark Mountain Falls. If I hadn't heard my father mention it, I wouldn't have known it. I didn't know there was such an old generation fighter living there. The Yunqui mountain range is vast and sparsely populated, and even the farmers who collect medicine don't like to go there. The poisonous miasma is too strong, and ordinary people have no way to enter. The rest are gone. Upon hearing this, Garen knew that this kind of martial artist was an older generation who had become indifferent to fame and fortune, and the possibility of getting into trouble was very low. No more. The main fighters are all concentrated in the Star Ring sect and the Red Sand Sword. The masters of the Star Ring sect and the Red Sand Sword sect are both older generation fighters. I don't know about the others. Then do you know the details of the Demon Elephant sect? Garen asked, changing the topic. The Demon Elephant sect is a demonic sect that secretly collects and trains young potential masters. It's very mysterious and I don't know much about it, but it's certainly not weak in strength. Be careful. Sulin's face turned serious. When you go back this time, you should tidy up the door and stabilize the situation. Although Master Fei's injury is not serious, he is old after all. This time he is injured and his martial arts will be greatly reduced. The Baiun sect will probably have to rely on you now. I know. Garen nodded. Huaishan City, Grand Province. In the woods on the outskirts of the city, the lush green forests have recovered from the winter depression. The bright light in the morning shines through the leaves, coupled with the humid air and fine dewdrops, giving people a fresh and cool feeling. Deep in the forest, a small zigzag green and black courtyard stands quietly surrounded by woods. The surface of the blue and black stone bricks is covered with green vines. The yard is surrounded by several double-story buildings, with a sloping stone step on the side leading up to the entrance and exit. The stone steps are slightly dark, with moss looming on the upper corners, making them look a bit old. At this time, there was a bald man with a big belly standing on the stone steps. The man had a sinewy face and was wearing a black suit with a white shirt underneath. He put his hands on his waist and took a deep breath, as if he was doing some morning exercises. The man's face was covered with beards, and there were black spots from the side of his face to his neck. It was obvious that he had not shaved cleanly. The beard has grown to the temples and is connected with the hair residue. It is basically impossible to tell which is the beard and which is the hair. While the man was doing morning exercises, a short-haired man slowly walked up from the stone steps. Mr. Bovini. The man walked to the bald head and greeted in a low voice. Well, is there any news? The bald man shook his upper body and seemed to be moving his waist. The other shareholders have decided to support your ascension, but there are still a few key industries that only the owner of the museum knows, and the owner has a good relationship with the governor. It is estimated that it will be very difficult to deal with this matter, the man reported in a low voice. I heard that the owner of the museum and the others successfully escaped from the Star Ring Gates territory safely. Are they on their way back now? Bald Bovini asked. Yes, the specific information is unclear, and no real facts have been revealed. It is said that it was blocked by the military. I heard that Master Fei was challenged and fell unconscious during the game. It is estimated that it is unlikely to recover so quickly, and even if he is too old to recover, and it is difficult to say how many levels of strength he will have left, the man quickly explained. Mr. Pu, now is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If you pass this time, there will be no hope of completely controlling the Baiun martial arts industry. Do the three shareholders mean this? Bovini asked in a low voice. Yes. A thoughtful look appeared on Bovini's face. Then let's prepare first. We have to welcome the successful return of the previous owner. I know, I'll go down and get ready right away. The man thought for a moment, then nodded suddenly and turned around to leave. Early morning 3 days later. In front of the main hall of Huaishan Baiun Martial Arts Hall, a fleet of black and silver patterned cars slowly parked on the roadside. This caused passers-by to look this way from time to time. This kind of luxury cars is rare in places like Huaishan. Now there is actually a fleet of 5 cars lined up together, which is even more eye-catching. The car doors opened one after another, and a white simple hospital bed was pulled out from the back. On it lay the unconscious Fei Baiun. K. Ling Saman and others carefully guarded the hospital bed and walked towards the gate of the martial arts hall. Jia Long and 6th Golden Ring Sulin got out of the car and looked up at the door plaque of the martial arts hall. I'm finally back. Garen let out a long sigh of relief. Senior brother Garen. The voices of Ramps and others came from one side. Rampace and another petite girl came over. We finally arrived at Huaishan, and it's time for our July Gate and Yuanwu Gate to say goodbye. Thanks to my senior brother for helping us this time. Here is our contact information and address. If you need any help, you are absolutely obligated. He handed over a piece of paper. Strip. Wait a moment, how are the two sect masters doing? Garen took it and looked behind them. He saw two simple hospital beds, with the sect masters of the two sects lying on them, unconscious. Military doctors have checked and there are no major problems. The cause of the coma seems to be caused by a special technique. He just needs to rest for a period of time before he can wake up naturally, Ramps explained. In addition, we also have a contact point in Huaishan. We can arrange the car ourselves, so you don't have to worry about it. That's good. Then you two are welcome, Garen nodded. See you soon, senior brother. Garen Lampez turned around and led several disciples to leave quickly on the hospital bed. Senior brother Jialong, don't forget our round dance door if you have something to do in the future. I'm Marianne. The petite girl smiled gratefully at Jialong, and led a few disciples to carry the master and rushed to the other side. There are some female disciples waiting. He actually knew their news in advance and took the initiative to greet them. Jialong looked back and was about to walk into the martial arts gym when Sulin suddenly walked over and whispered. I just received news that the strongest sect among the 12 southern sects, the Muri Taisuo sect, was wiped out by Andrila. Sulin whispered with a solemn expression. The Star Ring sect learned that Nishi-Sen had been killed, and the top management was furious, so they immediately attacked the nearest Muri Tai cable section. Andrila led a team to formally intervene in the challenge of the South 12 gates. The entire Muri Tai cable sect was wiped out. Garen's heart was slightly shaken. Sure enough, the Star Ring sect has probably wanted to annex the 12 South sects for a long time. This is just an excuse. Where is the Red Sand Sword? The Red Sand Sword has not moved for the moment. It is probably connected with the Star Ring section. Sulin frowned. This is troublesome, very troublesome. I also found out that there is someone else who secretly intercepted and killed you. Who? It's a newly emerged organization called the Black Label Society. It is said that they have reached an agreement with the Star Ring sect, the Red Sand Sword sect, to end the scattered situation in the entire South, integrate them into 3 sects, and concentrate their efforts against the North. Garen was silent for a moment. You go back, I will handle this matter myself. I already owe you a lot, and I have to settle it myself this time. You do it yourself? Can you withstand it? Sulin said angrily. There is no need for you to get involved in this matter anymore, Garen said calmly. There is nothing we can do now. Andrila will come here sooner or later. And it is impossible for me to escape. There are my teachers and my family and relatives here. As if meeting Garen for the first time, Sulin suddenly stared at him with burning eyes and waited for a while before speaking. Are you afraid of getting me in trouble? I'll admit you as my friend if you tell me this. I'm not afraid to tell you that I'm probably in bigger trouble than you now. When I'm with you, you not only have to be careful of attacks from martial artists, but also you have to be careful about the trouble of the assassination organization. Are you afraid? Do you want me to answer you enthusiastically? I'm not afraid. Garen was a bit dumbfounded. With such a strong background, you will be in worse trouble than me? Who would believe it? Sulin shook his head and took the lead to walk up to the open door of the martial arts gym. Go in and talk. I have more troubles than you, he smiled wryly. Garen followed closely. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 94. 10 minutes later, he arranged for the master to be taken care of by doctors and nurses, and comforted the panicked disciples and students in the martial arts hall. Finally, he asked the junior brothers and sisters to go back to rest. Only then did Garen ask the martial arts disciples to find a quiet room to talk with Sulin in detail. The antique all-wooden small room has red wooden walls and floors, wooden tables and chairs, and even the teacups are made of mahogany. The two sat opposite each other, with one or two log teacups placed on the mahogany table in the middle, with white mist rising from them. Garen gently touched the damaged corners of the wooden table. When I came back this time, there were a lot fewer disciples in the martial arts hall. There were obvious signs of damage in some places, which were obviously traces left by the senior sister's departure. Now the second senior brother is missing, and the third senior brother heard that he was banned and not allowed to go out. The door is deserted and empty. Forget it, let's not mention these things for now and let's talk about your business. Sulin picked up the teacup and smiled bitterly. This is why I want to ask you for help. To be honest, I originally came to you with the intention of looking for thugs and bodyguards. No matter what your intentions are, it's a fact that you helped me twice. No need to say more. Garen waved his hand to signal him not to continue. Tell me about your troubles. I don't believe that even such a powerful organization can't protect you. Golden Ring only has power. What I provoked is an assassination organization, one of the strongest killer organizations in the world. Ansara Sulin looked bitter. I don't know how I provoked it. I just know that it will start next summer. They will take formal action against me. Ansara? Is it very powerful? Garen asked in a low voice. You know I'm not familiar with this area. Let me compare it to you. The warriors of Star Ring sect are all proficient in firearms, special operations, battlefield tactics, assassination skills, etc., and they never come upright, but play dirty tricks. In fact, I am not afraid of them. It's just my family and relatives around me. They have no resistance themselves and can only rely on protection, Sulin said helplessly. I used various names to find a very strong protective force for my parents. Now my sister's side is still a bit weak. Are there any fighters in Ansara? Garen took a sip of tea, but still didn't feel anything scary. Yes, Sulin glanced at him, and he is a top fighter who has successfully assassinated 10 fighters. The leader is called Anchaluo, and he is one of the two most powerful martial arts peaks in the existing records. What I got the latest news is that he is also a member of an organization called Asgard. Garen's hand holding the teacup shook slightly, almost spilling the tea. It's Immortal Palace again. He originally thought that this organization was a very secretive and powerful force, but he didn't expect that traces would appear at this time. No matter what Ansara is, that will happen in the future. The most important thing now is to deal with the Star Ring Gate. Otherwise, I won't be able to get through this year, let alone next year. That's right. Sulin took a sip of tea and frowned slightly. Although it is good tea, the quality of the tea will be greatly reduced if the brewer is inferior. He looked up at Garen. The Star Ring sect is very strong, but there are rules for everything. And their strength is not enough to break all the rules. What are you talking about? Garen stared at Sulin and asked with some uncertainty. In the name of the military, I will ask my father to send a message asking you to be my sister's martial arts teacher, Sulin replied calmly. The martial arts teacher really kills two birds with one stone. The expression on Garen's face gradually softened. I guess it is a similar method, which not only achieves the purpose of keeping Bayun sect, but also achieves the effect you want. However, before that, my father needs to personally put pressure on the Star Ring Gate. This process cannot be completed in one go. This period is estimated to take about 10 days. You need to support this period of time yourself. 10 days, Garen lowered his head and looked at the teacup on the table. In the mahogany cup, the light black tea slowly rippled in circles. Okay, I was just wondering how strong the rumored #1 expert in the south is. Just have confidence, Sulin smiled. The two of them sat quietly in their seats, neither speaking anymore, just quietly thinking about their own ideas and plans. Boom, boom, boom. There was a knock on the door. Enter. Garen looked up towards the door. The door opened slightly, Kai Ling changed into white clothes and walked in, standing next to Galen. Elder brother, here comes Bhavini, who is in charge of the industry. Bhavini, Garen immediately recalled this person's identity. Just say that I was seriously injured and need to rest, and ask him to take care of the master's property as much as possible. Okay, senior brother Kai Ling nodded, and before leaving, he glanced curiously at Sulin, who was sitting opposite. It's time for me to leave now. I have to go back immediately to deal with your identity. If you talked to your father earlier, you can ease the matter earlier. But the conflict between you and the Star Ring sect can only be temporary. You killed them. Seeds of potential, those old guys are used to being all over themselves and will never let you go. I know that even if they want to let me go, this matter will be a heavy blow to their reputation, so even if they are forced to do so by reputation, reconciliation is impossible. Garen knew his situation very well. Then I'll rush back right away. I'll excuse you this time. Garen bowed slightly to Sulin. It's no trouble. Sulin chuckled, stood up gently, quietly opened the door and left. Send Mr. Sulin off. Garen ordered the disciple waiting at the door. Yes. Click. The door closed slowly. Garen let out a long breath. Sitting on the chair, all kinds of complicated things came to my mind for a while. I originally thought I was just going out for an exchange meeting, and I would continue to investigate the cause of the old man's death when I came back. I didn't expect that the Immortal Palace would actually collude with the Star Ring section, otherwise, it wouldn't be such a coincidence. At the same time that I was attacked, the Master was also challenged. Injured, the entire South 12 gates are in danger. One of the Xin Huan sect Immortal Palace is an organization of telepaths, and the other is an organization of warriors. What is the connection between them? He vaguely felt that he seemed to be trapped in a very complicated and troublesome whirlpool. The Star Ring sect has created a general trend, and it is necessary to clean up the other small sects and sections. The South 12 sect is the first to bear the brunt, and the other sects are definitely in danger. Garen slowly stood up. Walking to an empty space in the room, he quietly put on a standard starting position of the 4 major forms of Bayun's fighting skills. Time passed by minute by minute. Gradually, his originally frowning eyebrows relaxed. My mind was completely aware of the circulation of qi and blood in my body, and I gradually calmed down. I have always been passively coping with various emergencies, drifting with the flow, and not really wanting to do anything. His whole body began to slowly sway, like a swaying tumbler, swaying left and right, back and forth. I just simply like martial arts, so I'm trying my best to develop martial arts. Star Ring Gate, Andrilla, Xianflan. Garen didn't know how he got to this point. From the beginning to the end, these things didn't really matter. It's none of his business. He was just implicated. Immortal Palace Immortal Fran is because of the old man, and Star Ring sect is because of Master Bayun's section. Before he knew it, he had reached a point where he was surrounded by powerful enemies. It is impossible for the Star Ring sect to allow the 12 South sects to still participate in the resistance. Galen knew very well, the annihilation of the 12 South sects is a foregone conclusion, but I don't know what level Andrilla is. His body suddenly stopped and he paused momentarily. Laugh. There was a sharp sound. Garen threw his right fist forward violently, and a white scratch appeared in the air. Those are traces of the rapid airflow being squeezed out. He recollected the fighting along the way. Some of the ineffective and erroneous moves he made were gradually eliminated, leaving behind some extremely practical and coherent techniques. He suddenly recalled the first blow that exploded instantly on the Star Ring Gate arena. One card defeated the challenger, and both the fighter and the fighter were injured, and the opponent was obviously much more seriously injured. At that time, he just thought about using all his strength to release all his power. He didn't think much about it. The blood balloon in the center of his body automatically flowed and twisted his body into one. An extremely powerful and terrifying force suddenly burst out. It was a mixture of eagerness and anger, coupled with the cooperation of the body. A brand new move was produced in an instant. He tried to remember what it felt like at that time. If I can use that kind of power flexibly, my instantaneous explosive power will be even higher. Garen closed his eyes and stood in the empty space of the room, imitating the palm with his hands. The sound of whirring air was cut out, and his speed became faster and heavier. Suddenly, his right arm rushed forward. Snapped. It actually made a crisp sound like clapping hands. In the direction in which the palm was pushed out, the window curtains lifted to both sides as if blown by the wind. Garen stopped with a disappointed look on his face. It's still far from what it was back then. It's a pity. It would be great if there were still antiques of bad luck. The antique of doom is the biggest guarantee for him to improve as quickly as possible. In just over a year, he successfully developed from an entry-level martial arts enthusiast to the current level of a true fighter. It is indeed not ordinary strong. Byun Maiwu has been trained to the pinnacle by him. In other words, his explosive level is now the highest level in the history of Byun section. There is no way to go further. The Byun sect does not have more martial arts and secret martial arts inheritance than other sections. The giant elephant secret martial arts is only at the third-rate level, and that's about it at the top. My current level is definitely no match for Andrila. The gap is obvious. Even if we are both at the same fighter level, there will be a huge gap in the secret weapons we use. Galen thought, taking a drink of tea. There are only two methods I can think of now. One is the Antique of Doom, and the other is a new and stronger technique. With my natural ability, I can quickly and easily learn any technique that meets the attribute conditions. Suddenly his eyes lit up and he thought of a good idea. Easy learning. Since Byun Maiwu can't meet my requirements, then I will find a lower level of Maiwu. There are worse fourth-rate Maiwu below the third-rate. The lowest level of Maiwu exists. With my current physical fitness and my skills can definitely meet the requirements easily. In a short period of time, these fourth-rate secret martial arts are likely to greatly improve my fighting skills. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 95. Just do what comes to mind. Garen remembered that there was a collection of low-level secret weapons in the library of Byun Main Hall. Although they were relatively small, they were still secret weapons. No matter how bad the secret weapon is, it will always have merits worthy of being passed down. He quickly pushed open the door and walked directly towards the library. Along the way, the martial arts hall was deserted. In the originally bustling main hall, there were only 7 or 8 people wandering around. There were still faint traces of blood on the ground that had not been washed away. He didn't care about this and went straight to the library. A few days later, I arrived at the entrance of the library. The bald old man guarding the door had disappeared. The walls around the floor were full of signs of damage caused by fighting. Garen knew without thinking that the elder was probably in danger. The mood that was a little lighter now that I had a solution suddenly cooled down. Pushing open the door to the library, there are still neatly arranged items inside. Although the eldest sister is a traitor, she obviously doesn't like these third-rate and fourth-rate classics, or she has already read through them. After closing the door and lighting the oil lamp, Garen held the oil lamp and began to inspect the rows of bookshelves. After a while, he picked out all the fourth-rate secret martial arts and placed them on the desk for copying. He also sat down and put the oil lamp aside for lighting. There are only 4 books on the table. Iron Body, Iron Yin Palm, Skylark 3 Swords, Yanliu Hand. This is a basic secret martial art found in all martial arts schools on the market. Generally, only ordinary disciples will use it for training and practice. In Byun sect, because the explosive boxing technique was used as the basis of secret martial arts, it was not used. The main reason is that these secret martial arts are just like the red hand fist that I encountered earlier. They are not coordinated with the overall fighting skills, but only partial secret martial arts, and the training time is long. So the gain outweighs the loss. If you collect it, you can only use it for reference. The status in the secret martial arts world is similar to that of the Iron Cloth Shirt and Shaolin Changquan in those martial arts novels. Garen picked up the first iron book and opened the pages. Iron Body is an ordinary secret weapon that uses repeated blows to the trunk and special breathing methods to train the trunk's defense. The secret martial arts method is simple and easy to understand, and it only takes a long time to practice. It takes 5 years to get started, 10 years to get started, and 15 years to reach Dachen. After reaching adulthood, the body's trunk is as hard as steel and can withstand small caliber pistol bullets. This is the opening introduction. Garen ignored this and quickly flipped through the entire book. The book is very thin. This kind of exercise method does not require medication, difficult skills, or talent. The only thing required is strong perseverance to endure pain and long-term uninterrupted suffering. The most important content of this secret martial art is the special breathing method that only exists on a thin page. Garen read it in one breath, then slowly put the book down and closed it. No wonder this secret martial arts is called useless. He quickly flipped through the other 3 books, all of which took an extremely long time. It often took 5, 6, or 7 or 8 years to get started. Among them, the Fire Hands book actually took 8 years to get started. There were 4 levels in total, and the time for each level doubled. If everything goes well, it will take 64 years to complete the Dachen level alone. If you don't reach the Dachen of secret martial arts before the age of 25, you will never have any hope of making a breakthrough. Moreover, as your body's functions decline, you will go one step further and even regress after that. It will take a total of 120 years for this thing to reach Dachen. No wonder no one wants it in the Lost Library. However, complaints were complaints, and Garen still read through the 4 secret books honestly. It was not until the afternoon that he slowly came back to his senses. Close your eyes. In the dark field of vision, the light red attribute bar and skill bar below are extremely clear. Following his thoughts, the names of the 4 basic secret weapons slowly appeared on the skill bar. Iron Body, not yet started. Iron Yin Palm, not yet started. Skylark's 3 Swordsmen, not yet started. Yanliu Hand, not yet started. There are different symbols behind the 4 secret weapons, showing the conditions that need to be met. Among the 4 secret martial arts, only Highberry's 3 swords have higher requirements for agility, but they are only at the level of ordinary people. So all galleons meet the conditions. The Skylark 3 Swordsman is obviously an agile secret weapon, and it requires external assistance. It's not suitable for me, so throw it away. Let's start with the Iron Body. He just wanted to use the characteristics of his own power to see if he could produce quick results. Among the characteristics of innate abilities, the most important one is learning. When increasing his intelligence, Garen tried to learn history quickly. The speed was directly based on photographic memory and direct understanding, which was not ordinary fast. As long as the attribute requirements are met and there are no important external special conditions, you can master the basics of this subject at a terrifying learning speed. What he wants to try now is martial arts skills, if he can also meet this condition. The introductory practice of Iron Body requires a special breathing method, imagining that the whole body is inflated like an inflated balloon. As long as the skin turns from medium to light black, you are ready to start. Garen slowly inhaled according to Iron Body's breathing method. Call. Exhale in 9 breaths, and at the same time, inhale with a special rhythm that matches some parts of the body. It takes 20 minutes to complete a complete breathing technique. Garen stood up and started slowly at the desk. For the first time, just the first time, he felt that the muscles in his body began to tighten and become more delicate and tight as he continued the breathing method. there is a faint feeling of tension in the skin. He felt happy and quickly continued the second time. The tightness became more intense. The third time, the skin was already faintly red and tightened to the extreme. The fourth time. The fifth time. The sixth time. The moment Garin finished breathing, the skin all over his body relaxed, and the surface of his body was as hot as if he had taken a hot bath. He looked at the iron body skill in his field of vision. Iron body, entry level, 2 levels in total. Sure enough. It's really changed. He opened his eyes and pulled open his collar. As expected, the skin inside had turned slightly black. Although it has not reached the level where the whole body is like metal on the first level, I believe that as long as the next step is to make up for the tapping exercises, it should be achieved soon. This can be done. He made a fist and slapped his chest hard. Boom. In addition to the normal banging sound in his chest, there was also a faint sound of stiffness. Like hitting metal. It really works. Try it again and see if you can get to another level. Garin tried to continue using his breathing technique. Unfortunately, after 10 times in a row, my body stopped responding. In fact, he also knew that the breathing method alone without hitting exercises was unlikely to be effective. He just wanted to try it, but after all, it did not go beyond expectations. If you say that when you first learn theoretical knowledge, you can quickly master it if you meet the conditions, then why are those basic fighting skills and basic swordsmanship wrong? At that time, I had already mastered the basic introduction of those skills. In other words, this ability is only for the introduction. Is it effective when using it, or is it effective in theoretical subjects that are purely memory-based? He recalled the situation when he was learning identification from the old man. At that time, he followed the study step by step, just memorizing the book. Just flip through it once and you're done, but you can't advance to the appraisal level without flipping through the book. So far, his appraisal is still at the entry-level level. It's just that I have accumulated a lot of basics and various knowledge. The specific identification is still at a rookie level. It seems so. Garin became more and more sure of his guess. The talent ability allows him to get started quickly after meeting the conditions. This ability doesn't matter in normal times and is of little use, but it is different when facing the secret martial arts. No matter how bad the secret martial arts is, it must be much stronger than ordinary martial arts to be called secret martial arts. Martial arts that can be used as secret skills are naturally not that weak. As long as you get started, the effect won't be too bad. So Garin also plans to use this ability to see if he can learn a few more secret martial arts and see what the effect is. Although I don't know how much the iron body will strengthen me, I can try it later. He continued to prepare according to the training method of Iron Yin Palm. Iron Yin Palm also does not require special external conditions, it just requires special postures and the assistance of thoughts. This is a secret weapon that gathers all the toxins in the body in the hands. Normal people usually eliminate toxins from the body every day through sweating, etc., and Iron Yin Palm gathers these toxins that should be eliminated into the hands, achieving the effect of extremely poisonous palms during fighting. Although this took a little time, it was easy to get started. Garin had just set up the posture, and combined with the mind-breathing method and muscle regulation, within 2 hours, his hands felt a slight numbness and itching. This is the effect of toxins in the body being forced onto the fingers. It's just that this secret weapon requires time to accumulate, and it won't be effective immediately. The more toxins you accumulate, the stronger your hands will be. The level of secret martial arts is also determined according to how much poison one can bear. The higher the level, the more toxic the palms are. And this secret martial art is the same as the giant elephant secret martial arts. There are only 2 levels in the record. Garin has just had some effect, and it's not poisonous at all. At least you need to accumulate a lot of talent to barely reach the entry level. This can only be done slowly. Next, there is Yanliu Hand. The difference is that this secret martial arts training method does have an effect, but the response is very weak. Compared with the iron body, the speed is completely two levels. Garen only exercised a few times, and it was already dark outside. Most of the disciples in the martial arts main hall also went back their own way. He actually didn't eat lunch or dinner and stayed in the study for so long. Andrila will be here within 10 days. I hope that I can fully master the basics during this period. Garen murmured softly. As long as the three secret martial arts and iron body can be supplemented with anti-attack training, they should be able to be completely stable at the entry level. As for the other two secret martial arts, it depends on the situation. It all depends on accumulation to achieve complete results. Garen was not dissatisfied. Compared to ordinary people, his progress was already countless times faster. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 96. I guess there has never been a warrior who has practiced several secret martial arts like me, right? No matter how good a secret martial art is, it must be practiced on a yearly basis, and secret martial arts is also a martial art. If you don't practice it for a long time, you will forget it and degrade. Just like sailing against the current, as long as I don't practice for one day, I may deteriorate for 3 days. If I didn't have the help of supernatural powers to solidify the training effect of my body, I probably wouldn't be able to practice other secret martial arts like this. This is how the body adapts. He raised his head and glanced over the eaves at the starry night sky. A crescent moon hangs quietly in the black sky, casting a gauze-like moon-white light. It's better not to go home for the time being, so as not to worry my family if something happens later. Garen made up his mind to stay in the martial arts school, and the news of his return was not spread. Only a few people know about this. He exhaled softly. The corridor in front of the martial arts library was dark and quiet. He walked forward slowly along the corridor. After taking a few steps, he suddenly saw a figure sitting on his right. He took a few steps closer to take a closer look. Grace, Garen said in surprise. The figure was clearly Grace, wearing a professional secretary suit. Her slender legs were wrapped in thick stockings and held together. Her whole body was huddled up, as if she was very cold. Hearing the sound, she opened her eyes drowsily and glanced at Garen in front of her. Garen, you're out, she said weakly. She slowly tried to stand up, but unexpectedly her legs went numb, and she lost her balance and almost fell. Garen hugged her, feeling that this woman's body was as soft as a bone and her body temperature was hot. Grace also took advantage of the situation and threw herself into his arms. Why are you waiting here? Garen asked in a low voice. Manlatan's intelligence ability is quite fast. You all knew it as soon as I came back. When did you come here? Afternoon. Grace's voice became weaker and weaker. Garen reached out and touched her forehead, which was very hot. I have a fever. There are doctors and nurses at Master's place. I'll take you to take a look. There should be no big problem. He picked up Grace and strode towards the room where the Master was resting. The martial arts hall was quiet, there was no sound, and there was no sign of lighting at all along the way. The large martial arts hall was extremely empty and deserted. Not far away, the room where the Master rested was faintly revealed at the front corner, and a nurse in white clothes walked out of the room while drinking a basin of water. The pale yellow light in the room faintly shined through the crack of the door, and Simon could be seen dozing next to the hospital bed. Garen walked over with Grace in his arms and asked in a lower voice. "Ms. Nurse, please find some fever and cold medicine for my friend." "No problem." The nurse, a civilian girl with small freckles on her face, agreed quickly and decisively, "But don't enter the room yet. The patient inside has not recovered yet, and the cold may be transmitted to him. Good. Put me down. Grace struggled in Galen's hand, her legs kept kicking back and forth, her face was red, and she was obviously a little confused from the fever. Garen shook his head speechlessly and stood at the door for a while. The nurse lady asked another nurse to come over, and the two arranged for Grace to move into a ward next to her. Only then did Garen make some free time and walked into the room where his master was. Simon was still snoring and dozing off, sitting on a chair with his head tilted to one side. The sound of Garen closing the door softly didn't wake him. I walked over and patted his shoulder lightly a few times. Ugh. Simon quickly sucked the saliva from his mouth. Big brother, he was startled when he saw Garen coming in and quickly stood up. Your arm is still in a plaster, why don't you take a good rest? Go to your room and rest, Garen whispered with a straight face. But the owner, Simon said hesitantly. I'll come here, Garen whispered. Master, have you ever woken up? Simon's face darkened. No, I haven't woken up even once. It's been like this since I came back from the Star Ring Gate. Isn't he not seriously injured? What's going on? Garen frowned. I don't know. The doctor said that the owner's body is not too damaged. He just doesn't know why he is drowsy and unable to wake up. Simon replied in a low voice, will the owner be okay? Senior brother, there was a trace of worry on his face. I can't, am I still here? Garen patted him on the shoulder, you go and rest, I will guard here. Actually, I just came here not long ago, and Kei Ling was guarding me just now. Simon smiled sheepishly. Actually, you don't have to stay here with us, Garen suddenly whispered. You are just ordinary students. No need to say this. Senior brother, we have decided to stay in the gym. No matter what the result is, the martial arts gym has given us too many things. This is the choice of Kei Ling, and Igali is different from us. She has many things at home. Her parents and younger brother are here, so we advised her to go back first. Senior brother, you won't blame us, right? Simon's expression calmed down and he said calmly. Of course not. Garen didn't know what to say. Actually, you don't need to do this. Stop talking, senior brother. Simon smiled. Kei Ling and I have nothing to worry about. It was the owner who cultivated us. Okay, I'll go back and rest first. I'm relying on you here. Well, you go ahead. Garen could only nod. Watching Simon slowly leave the room, he closed the door with his backhand. Garen was silent for a moment. Compared with senior sister Luozida, these ordinary core students are more like the disciples of teacher Fei Baiyun. When the martial arts hall was in danger, they did not choose to escape, but stayed and shared the difficulties with the martial arts hall. With almost half of the entire martial arts gym disbanded, only this difficult situation can reveal who can really be trusted. Garen sat silently on the chair that Simon had previously occupied and looked at the master on the hospital bed quietly. Teacher, although the martial arts school is facing an unprecedented difficult situation, there are still some disciples worthy of my protection. This is your luck, and it is also ours. Although he had only joined for 1 year, he felt a kind of kinship with Fei Baiyun, who taught him the art. Fei Baiyun worked hard to cultivate him and made arrangements for him in all aspects. He also took part in matters related to the Manhattan Company. Shelter from wind and rain. This time it was only Grace who came alone. The previous bodyguards and Cynthia were all gone. Apparently they saw that the situation was not good and they were all taken back by the company. It is natural that the wall will fall and the monkeys will scatter. If you can get through this difficulty, you shouldn't object to me accepting Kei Ling Sai as a disciple to truly teach my art, right? He said the last thing, then exhaled a long breath, closed his eyes and rested quietly. Fei Baiyun was still sleeping on his back, breathing faintly, and he didn't know if he could hear it. Due to the rules of secret martial arts teaching, only direct disciples can be taught skills. This is the basic rule of secret martial arts teaching. Fei Baiyun had already announced that he would no longer accept disciples, so Jia Long decided to do it himself. Originally, the best candidate was the second senior brother Farrokh, but Farrokh went out to hunt down the senior sister Rosita, and there is no news yet. Although he was confident in the strength of his second senior brother, Garin was also worried about the possibility of outside intervention. The strength of the second senior brother and the senior sister has always been about the same, but the second senior brother has always given way to the senior sister. His strength is too violent and he dare not let go of sparring, so he often loses to the senior sister Rosita. But a real life and death fight is different. Moreover, when warriors of the same level fight each other, it mainly depends on their status. Sitting in the master's room until dawn, Garin waited until the replacement nurse came in, then got up and left to resume the practice of secret martial arts. After walking around the main hall, he got a general idea of the entire martial arts hall. Due to the sex rebellion, most of the core students left, and the rest of the students at all levels disbanded and went home on temporary leave. All branch libraries were deserted except for the gatekeepers. Only the Kelingsai gate remains in the main hall. Now only the core students know the details of the sex catastrophe, and most of the other students are unaware. Based on the reputation and trust in Fei Baiyun, the leader of the Baiyun sect, most of them just think that things will return to normal after a while. No one thought the situation would be so serious. The entire main hall, which could accommodate thousands of people, now had less than 10 people left. Apart from Jia Lung and K Ling Saman, there are just a few ordinary staff members who have developed relationships after working in the martial arts gym for many years. Garin walked slowly inside the main building on foot. No one could be seen anywhere, only the deserted air and traces of dilapidation. After Garin left the martial arts hall, he settled his breakfast problem at a nearby snack bar. He then ordered corresponding breakfasts for other people in the gym and asked the waiter to deliver them. He then went directly back to the martial arts performance hall on the second floor of the martial arts hall. Start carefully practicing the introductory secret martial art of Iron Body. The Iron Body is still in the final stage and requires external assistance for training. There is a small room in the martial arts performance hall on the second floor, where many heavy iron balls and mallets are hung specifically for anti-hit training. This is also because the Baiyun sect itself requires such an environment to practice the explosive boxing technique. Standing naked in the middle of dozens of densely packed iron balls, each of which was the size of a human head. Garin also specially added spike steel nails on their coats. The densely packed black iron balls were like a large group of sea urchins, surrounding Galleon in the middle. He took a deep breath, exhaled it for a long time, and began to breathe according to the secret method of Iron Body. After taking a complete breath, he suddenly pushed the iron ball around him. Dang dang dang. A series of banging sounds sounded one after another. Then there was the sound of the spikes of the iron ball hitting Garin, which also made a clanking sound, like hitting a metal block. Garin's skin was darkened all over, showing a hard gray sheen. Countless iron balls swayed back and forth, hitting him again and again, and then they were pushed away by him with extra force, and then hit back with even greater force. Each iron ball weighs tens of pounds. With the recoil force, it is estimated to have an impact of hundreds of pounds. In addition, it is replaced with spikes, the impact area is greatly reduced, and the pressure on the skin per unit area is even greater. Garin only felt numb and itchy all over his body, and he had the urge to reach out and scratch it. He knew this was normal. Just practice like this until noon, take a break to eat and exercise, and take a break to exercise after eating. Keep repeating this process. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 97. 2 days passed quickly. Finally. Clang. An iron gall pierced the side of Garin's face, and it actually made an extremely clear metal impact sound, as if it had hit a hard piece of iron. A hint of joy flashed in Garin's eyes. Just like that, he stormed out of the Taiguan group. I'm going to trouble you soon. Kai Ling stood in the corner of the room with a respectful expression, holding a black iron-colored spear in his hand. The spear body was as thick as an arm, 3 meters long when standing on the ground, and the tip was extremely sharp. Let's let Sister Grace come first, Kai Ling nodded. Okay, Garen didn't care. The two walked out of the training room and came to the even more empty hall of the martial arts performance hall. Grace was already waiting in the middle of the hall. She actually held a black submachine rifle in her hand, and she didn't know where she got it. When she saw Garen coming out, she looked a little worried. Garen, are you sure it's okay to do this? It doesn't matter, come on, Garen nodded. Remember to wear bulletproof clothing. He asked Grace to find a submachine rifle just to test how much his body's defense had been improved. What kind of level the already strong physical fitness can reach after practicing the iron body needs to be specifically tested. Although he had seen Garen's terrifying physical defense strength before, what he was holding now was a submachine rifle. The bullets from this gun were very powerful and had an astonishing impact. They were not comparable to pistol bullets. Grace was still a little worried. However, this was to help Garen train, so she could only follow Garen's instructions and put on a full set of black body armor, plus a bulletproof helmet, gloves, etc. Let Kai Ling hide in the small room first. She then picked up her submachine gun and pointed it at Garen. Have I started? Shoot. Garen took a deep breath, and the muscles all over his body bulged slightly fiercely. The upper body of his entire body actually swelled up, like a barbarian with giant blood in mythology. Directly taller than Grace, who is 1.7 meters tall. Bang 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 bang. A series of gunshots suddenly sounded. All I could see was a little spark exploding on Garen's body. The golden sparks flashed and flashed on his body. The clanging sound was like a clanking sound hitting a metal surface. Ouch, Garen slapped his face with a palm. One door forward. A denser clanging sound suddenly sounded ahead, and the gunfire stopped abruptly. Grace stared dumbfounded at Garen not far away. She saw him reaching out his hand with a calm expression and flipping it down. Several bullets fell on the floor with a tinkling sound, beating incessantly. On the playground of the martial arts main hall, Galen stood shirtless in the middle of the playground. Kai Ling and a group of temporarily hired strongmen all held the black spear, pointing the tip of the spear at his chest and abdomen. Ah! A group of people sprinted towards Garen with all their strength. They stepped on the same pace and poured all their energy into the black metal spear. The speed gets faster and faster as the distance gets closer, faster and faster. Clang! The tip of the spear suddenly pierced Garen's abdomen, like it was piercing a metal block. Garen was shocked, took 2 steps back, and then stood firm to resist. He actually walked forward while holding on to 7 or 8 people. He actually pushed the spear hard out of his hand. The strong men couldn't hold it, and almost got hit in the foot, falling to the ground with a crash. Fortunately, Kai Ling held onto the spear and slowly lowered it. A group of ordinary men gulped their saliva and left quickly, looking at Garen as if they were aliens. Congratulations, senior brother, she suddenly showed surprise when she saw that there were no traces on Garen's abdomen. Elder brother has incredible skills. He can definitely beat the crap out of Andre. Simon on the side laughed wildly. Garen shook his head speechlessly. Simon's arrogant personality began to return even before his arm recovered. Grace just came over and wiped his sweat with a calm face, and brought him freshly poured warm salt water to replenish the lost salt water. Garen took the cup and drank it in one gulp. Seeing the scene around me, I always feel a little weird. Okay, let's take a rest first. We'll find more people in the afternoon and try to attack from all directions. Good. Seeing the pressure of the people around him disappear, Garen had finally achieved his goal. Originally, because of the invasion of the Star Ring Gate, everyone was resisting with panic and high pressure. Now that he has shown such incredible power, he can offset part of this strong pressure and relieve everyone's spirits. Although he has completely mastered the iron body now, he doesn't know how much the specific defense has been improved. After all, the lethality of firearms is also different. Even submachine guns have huge differences. Grace, the submachine guns that can be found are also obtained through various personal connections, so naturally they cannot be powerful. After all, it was not an army, and it was different from the submachine guns we encountered on the way back. It's a pity that there has been little movement in both the Iron Yin Palm and the Yanliu Hand. It seems that we won't be able to complete it in the short term. The Iron Yin Palm needs to accumulate toxins, and the progress of the Yanliu Hand is too slow. We must find another way. He stood at the original position, lost in thought. It would be nice if there were more secret weapons like Iron Body. He came to his senses, walked aside and asked Kai Ling and others in a low voice. By the way, the closest to us among the 12 southern gates are the Round Dance Gate and the July Gate. The attack by the people from the Star Ring Gate this time will definitely be a fierce battle. You also have to work hard to practice on your own. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Just ask me. I'm going to go to one of the two nearby sects in the afternoon to see if I can find something helpful to me from their collection of martial arts materials. Do you know which of these two sects has the books? More. As soon as business was mentioned, several people became quiet. Grace led the rest of the hired men to go further away, and handed out the money for this visit, so as not to hinder their conversation. Upon hearing the inquiry, both Kai Ling and Simon looked embarrassed. Senior brother, we are just core students and have not had much contact with these secret martial arts sections, Kai Ling whispered. I only know that the Round Dance Gate is farther away from us, and the July Gate is in Dina City, near us. In the Yunqi Mountains, it is said that there is the famous July Group in July Gate, which is a large group company that integrates real estate, heavy metals, handicrafts and other fields. The rest is not clear. Garen frowned slightly. Simon, do you know any news? He Simon touched his nose and did not answer, just smiled sheepishly. I know a little bit about the July Group instead. Grace, who had just arrived, replied. The July Group has always been collecting ancient books. When I was at the Manlettan Company, I heard about their acquisitions in this area several times. Something. I think it won't disappoint you. Garen nodded. Then I'll go to Dina City in the afternoon and follow the address they gave me. Maybe I'll get something. In addition, the Bayanman garrison exists in name only. We'd better move to another place and wait until the second senior brother comes back. If I leave, if there is danger, you just disperse and flee, and it will be difficult for them to find you. Although he knew that as long as the Bayun sect headquarters was captured, it would have a bad impact on the entire South 12 sects, but for the safety of everyone, Garen still carefully admonished. Understood, senior brother, just go ahead with peace of mind, Simon said loudly. What he said was weird, and he was twisted hard by Kai Ling on the side. This is a battle in the martial arts world. You are different from me. I killed the Ni Shixing of the Star Ring section. They can't let me go. But the rules of martial arts practitioners are not to bring harm to their families. They will only follow the rules to settle accounts with me. As long as I don't hide, nothing will happen to my family and relatives. You are different from me. If you hide, they will never harm your relatives and friends. So when it's time to run away, run away. After I leave, you will take it with you. Master, find another place to hide. Is that okay? No problem. Leave it to me. I still have an empty villa on the outskirts of the city, which is perfect for everyone to move to. Grace nodded and was the first to respond. The rest of the people had no objections either. Garen carefully instructed Kai Ling and others on what they should do to be safest in various situations. Then he answered some martial arts puzzles for a few people in the playground, and then put on his clothes and left the martial arts hall alone. Even Grace wanted to follow him, but he refused. At this time, he was alone. Be much more flexible. In fact, the real strength of the Bayun sect is only 6 people, that is, their 4 brothers, plus the master and an elder. The others are all peripherals recruited from outside. They have no loyalty at all and their strength is almost negligible. Now the master is in a coma, the senior sister has rebelled against the family, and the second senior brother has chased him out without trace. The third senior brother was confined at home and was not allowed to participate in such fights in the fighting world. The elder is also missing, and it is not known whether he is alive or dead. Suddenly he was the only one supporting the entire Bayun section. As for friends and colleagues, the master's friends are all from the 12 southern sects, and they are too busy to take care of themselves now, let alone support this side. Now the Star Ring sect has indicated that it will intervene in the Bayun sect incident. Andrila is already on her way here with her people, and there may be the 6th Golden Ring Surin in the middle who can delay it for a few days. But in the end it can only be a delay. Andrila will definitely arrive in Huaishan City within a few days. After adjusting his condition and recovering, the first thing Galen had to do was to settle the rest of the team without any worries. Then go to the other remaining sects of the southern 12 sects to provide assistance. He is flexible on his own and can quickly support the other sects and try to concentrate all the forces together to fight against the Star Ring sect. Of course, going to find low-level secret martial arts secrets is also one of his purposes. July Gate, Sax Mountain in the Skylark Mountains, the headquarters of the July Group, was the address Rampace gave before leaving. It is also Garon's destination this time. Fortunately, July Gate is only a 2-hour drive from Huaishan City. Although they are close together, if it hadn't been for this unexpected incident, the July Gate might not have been connected to the Bayun Gate. This ancient sect is much stronger than the Bayun sect, and the leader of the sect is not the strongest among them. Unlike the Bayun sect, there are 3 masters of Fei Bayun's level in the July sect. There are countless disciples under the sect, which is much more powerful than the Bayun sect, and is second to none in the entire Grand Province. It can be regarded as the second-rank sect among the 12 southern sections. Garon guessed that this time Andrila led the team, the main opponent must be the July Gate. As for the grudge against him, Andrila only needs to do it alone. Compared to the behemoth of the July Gate, the Bayun Gate is indeed too weak. The 12 south gates were severely damaged, and Garon was still on the road. Before he reached Dina City, he had already seen a steady stream of warriors with strong blood rushing towards Dina City. It is very likely that the other weak sects in the southern 12-gate alliance regard the July Gate as the last place of resistance and gathered as many as possible. I want to rely on the July Gate to preserve myself. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 98. On a vast dark green grassland, in the center, a white train slowly moved forward along the railroad tracks. It's like a green handkerchief with a white line in the middle. In a carriage in the middle of the train, the pitch-black space was almost sealed, with only a faint trace of white light coming in from both sides. A one-eyed man with long hair reaching his waist was standing quietly in the darkness. Swald once told me that if you give up your eyes, you will get a broader world. The man whispered, as if talking to himself. His left eye wears a black eye patch, and the dark golden pupil of his right eye reflects a faint crystal light. My heart will tell me what higher realm I want to pursue. He said strange words inexplicably. Andrila with a bang, the carriage door was opened, and an old man with white hair and green eyes stood at the door, still comprehending? It has been more than a year since you entered the fighter level. How can you deal with an ordinary little guy? Guys don't need to prepare so grandly. It doesn't matter, don't underestimate any opponent. This is my principle. A soft smile appeared on Andrila's face. Your characteristics are the strongest speed and penetrating power, which just overcomes the galleon's strengths. No matter how you look at it, you have a much better chance of winning. The old man shook his head and said, forget it, it's up to you. By the way, the required test iron piece has been delivered. He turned around and left without closing the door. Soon, more than 10 people carried in 5 black metal cubes one after another, and arranged them one by one in front of Andrila, forming a straight line. Each metal cube is made of fine iron and is very hard. Each one is half a person tall. Put down these metal blocks, the rest of the people will automatically and quietly leave the car, and then gently close the door. Andrila slowly pulled out the rapier from her waist. Laugh. A silver thread flashed in the darkness. A round hole was instantly punched out among the 5 metal squares. This round hole directly penetrates the entire 5 pieces of refined iron. The edges of the hole are round and smooth, and are slightly red. A trace of heat slowly filled the air, which was a large amount of waste heat generated after penetrating the iron block at high speed. Andrila looked at these metal blocks calmly, not knowing what she was thinking for a while, and slowly fell into trance. Outside the door, the green-eyed elder from before was standing by the carriage window, quietly looking at the grassland scenery passing by at high speed outside. Behind him stood a woman in a long scarlet dress quietly. Although we have confidence in Andrila, we still have to make the best preparations just in case. Is the man from Manlet and Company ready? Well, we are ready to send back the news. I must have gained the trust of the little guy from Bayun Gate. The woman in red dress replied in a low voice. That's good, let them prepare to take action. Use the medicine in batches. This medicine can be dormant for 3 days, which is exactly the time we arrive. And there will be no signs at all afterwards. There is no room for error this time. Defeat Bayun. The door is just a small matter, mainly the old guy at the July gate. Andrila can't consume too much. Unfortunately, I am too old and can't play in person, otherwise it would be easier if I paved the way for him first. The old man. Some regretful sighs. You've done enough, the woman whispered. Grace? Why are you following me? In the train station in Dina City, there is a busy waiting platform with people coming and going. Garin frowned and looked at Grace in front of him. The other person had his head lowered and was holding a black handbag in both hands. He was dressed like a college student going out for a trip. Wearing a white sweater and white jeans, her tall breasts and long, tight legs are perfectly highlighted. Her long platinum hair was draped casually on her shoulders, with a black hairband tied in the middle. She changed her usual calm and charming style to a pure and slightly sexy temperament. I just want to follow you, Grace replied calmly. After all, you need someone to help you with some daily things. Have the others made arrangements? Garin rubbed his temples helplessly. Arranged. Then let's go. Garin was speechless. Since he had already followed her, there was no way he could drive her back. According to the address given by Rampace, the two found a carriage, negotiated the fare, got on it, and rushed directly to the headquarters of the July group. When they arrived at the headquarters building, there were already people waiting in front of the building. Obviously, as a local snake, the July Gate had very strong intelligence capabilities, and Garin was discovered as soon as he arrived. Someone led Garin and the two of them directly into the building. Without any delay, they directly found Rampace, who was practicing secret martial arts hard. I thought you would come earlier, brother Garin, but I didn't expect you were a little late. Rampace walked out of the room with a white towel on his shoulders, exuding heat from his body. Sitting opposite Galleon, the waiter next to him served fragrant milk coffee. Why doesn't this lady sit down? Ramps glanced at Grace, wondering what her relationship was with Garin. It doesn't matter, I'll just stand. Grace declined, and just stood quietly behind Garin, insisting not to sit down. After waving away the waiter, Ramps sat up straight, picked up the coffee and took a big sip. Now he has more confidence and ease as a master than when he was escaping. I'm sorry, senior brother Jialong. The other elders in the sect are busy entertaining the sect leaders and representatives from various sections. Now most of the power of the entire southern 12 sects has been concentrated on our July sect, so we don't have time for the time being. Treat you. It just so happens that I received your life-saving grace, and we are familiar with each other, so I have full authority to entertain you. I hope you don't mind, Rampace explained a little apologetically. It doesn't matter. Hospitality is just a formality. I don't care about this critical period, Garen smiled. It's just that this time I came here, I wanted to borrow some low-level secret weapons collection from the July Gate. It just so happened that this time, after fighting fiercely all the way back, I want to see if I can check out some other secret martial arts to expand my martial arts direction. Secret martial arts? Lanpace looked confused. Brother Garen, you also know that secret martial arts, even if it is just a low-level secret martial arts, is the foundation of a section. I'm afraid I can't make the decision. If you have any conditions, just tell me, Garen said calmly. I need to ask the elder deputy sect leader for instructions. Please wait a moment. Ramps didn't want Garen to be disappointed and leave empty-handed. After all, he saw Garen's powerful strength with his own eyes along the way. Such a person has huge potential. As a secret warrior, making good friends is the only option. Especially in times of crisis like this. Then I'll wait for you here. Garen picked up the coffee and took a sip. Okay. I'll be right back. Ramps stood up and hurriedly left through the side door. Just a junior, for the sake of escorting the sect master back, let him receive some reward and leave quickly. Now all the small sects and sects are coming to ask us to take in and support. Isn't it just asking for money? We 7 did the money from the U group fall from the sky? Just say a few words and open your mouth to get millions. It's really funny. But elder, senior brother Garen is not here to ask for money. Lampace frowned. He just found the great elder Kaiman, who was still resting in the conference room. This great elder was obviously pissed off by someone, and he was gulping down some tea. No money? What does he want? The elder was surprised and stopped immediately. Senior brother wants to check out the low-level secret weapons. What? My woo. Tell him to get out. The great elder stood up in a hurry, furious. Hurry up and tell him to get out. Get out? Me woo. What kind of thing can a small sect like Bayun sect want? Don't just look at it. Don't even think about it. Who is Bayun sect? A third-rate sect. The sect actually threatens us at this time. Do you think we can't stop the Star Ring Gate without him? What a joke. Even if our July Gate just picks out a secret weapon, it's much better than his giant elephant secret weapon. The great elder was so angry that he was shaking all over. Great elder Rampace wanted to argue, but was immediately interrupted by the great elder. Stop talking. This time the sect leader was seriously injured and unconscious, but you are safe and sound, no injuries at all. Hello. Very good. I haven't settled this account with you yet. Do you still want to plead for others? The elder stood up. He walked out the door angrily and quickly disappeared through the corridor. Rampace quickly got up and chased him out, persuading him all the way. In another corridor connecting this corridor, Garen looked ugly as he and Grace walked out of the room. The conference room where the great elder was located was not far from the previous room. With his current physical fitness and the powerful hearing of a fighter, he could naturally hear everything clearly. Let's go. I originally thought that the Kyo sect needed my help to unite and defeat the Star Ring sect, but I didn't expect that they don't care about our little sect at all, Garen said calmly, turned around and walked away along the way he came. Grace followed closely behind. Not long after Rampace chased him out, he received news that Garen and his 2 men had left, and he immediately knew he was in trouble. It was unlikely that there was any other reason for Garen to leave without saying goodbye, other than hearing what they said. He guessed at once that Garen must have been waiting for him and heard the conversation in the conference room when he came out. Great elder, He couldn't bear it anymore and shouted loudly. The great elder walking in front turned around in shock. "Are you yelling at me?" The more Rampak thought about it, the angrier he became, and the more he thought about it, the more aggrieved he became. Blushing and breathing heavily, he stood in the corridor. "Great elder. Now that senior brother Jialong is gone, are you satisfied? Who gave you the courage to yell at me?" The great elder's face suddenly darkened. "What does it have to do with me whether he leaves or not? Senior brother Jialong saved the lives of the sect master and a group of our disciples. Is this what our July sect did to him? That's great. Good." Ramps always thought that the great elder's temper was just a little fiery and his personality was pretty good. "Okay, but I didn't expect that they would ignore right and wrong in this matter and let out anger indiscriminately. No one asked him to save. Who asked him to save people? It's so funny. Saved the sect master? Saved you?" The great elder suddenly laughed. "I told Rampace that the Star Ring sect is strong, but our July the sect is not a vegetarian. Even if they don't have that galleon, do they dare to touch our people? Even if the sect master is knocked unconscious by the challenge, does the Star Ring sect dare to touch our sect master? He doesn't know anything and he still dares to yell at me. Do you know what the real confidence of our July Gate is? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 99. Rampace was shaking with rage. He no longer wanted to argue with the great elder, turned around and left quickly. His father is the second elder and the person with the most authority in the sect after the great elder. He is going to find his father. It's a pity that both his father and other familiar elders have the same attitude. That is neglect without exception. He just thought that this was just a trivial matter. Bayanman Jialong threatened to get the secret book of secret martial arts and left angrily after failing. This behavior is not uncommon among many small sects. Representatives or owners of these small sects came over and took advantage of the fact that the seventh sect needed strength. They wanted money, secret weapons, precious medicinal materials, power resources, etc., and they had everything they wanted. At first, key women entertained people with the idea of making friends, but later on it became more and more outrageous. The entire door became more and more impatient and impetuous. Garin and the other two walked out of the July building with gloomy faces, and then they saw some people coming out of the building in a hurry. Apparently he was treated the same way. "July Gate, this is too much," a strong old man panted angrily and walked out of the building accompanied by two disciples. "They have strong financial resources and powerful forces. They don't need ordinary secret warriors like us at all. You should go back quickly. The entire southern 12 sects only need the Kyo sect family. None of the other sects needed a group of strong men." He made a strange sound. "Our two sects are not the only ones who have been kicked out these days. The South 12 gates, including the Hong Obsidian Gate, were treated with high standards, and the others were admitted." Garin shook his head speechlessly and led Grace to the roadside to stop the car. "Senior brother Garin." Suddenly, a cute girl's voice came from the left side in surprise. "Is it really senior brother Garin?" The two of them turned around and saw a beautiful girl dressed as a high school student rushing towards them carrying a small white satchel. The girl was one of the members on the way back from the round dance section. Although Garin had no impression of her, it was obvious that the other party had an unusual admiration for him, who was strong and conspicuous. The girl ran up to the two of them in one breath. Seeing that both of them looked a bit unhappy, they immediately guessed the situation. "That's too much. Even senior brother Jialong was kicked out? The July Gate is really..." The little girl suddenly looked unhappy. "You are from Yuan." Garin hesitated. "Sorry, my memory is not very good," he smiled sheepishly. On the way back at that time, From small to large, from ordinary disciples to the senior sister who led the team, the Yuan Wu sect had no sense of presence at all. My name is Imlalai, a Bodhi native. I am the 5th generation disciple of Yuan Wu sect, ranking 2nd. I am 21 years old this year, the girl patted her chest and introduced with a little pride. It was only when I got closer that I realized that her height was only below Garen's chest, and she looked about the same as a 12 or 13-year-old girl. Only about 1.2 meters. He seemed to notice the strange looks in Garen and others' eyes. Imlala emphasized angrily. 21 years old. Well, we know you are 21 years old. Garen was speechless. Okay. Anyway, I'm used to it, Imlalai said helplessly, and then her face returned to seriousness and she said, Senior brother Jialong, if there is anything we can do to help you when you come here this time, our Yuan Wu sect will definitely do our best to help you. I originally thought of borrowing the lowest secret martial arts from the July Gate as a reference material. I didn't expect that they wouldn't give it to me, and then it came out. Garen shrugged. If you don't mind, you can take a look at the secret martial arts of our Yuan Wu section, including our inherited secret martial arts, Imlalai said solemnly. We have also heard about the situation at Bayun Gate. If you need funds, we have just raised 2 million funds here. You can also use them for urgent needs. Are you in charge? I have the final say. Because this is what my mother meant, Imlalai laughed. This is our first meeting. Thank you very much, Mr. Gallon, for escorting my daughter back safely. A calm female voice came from behind the two Gallons. Garen was slightly startled. He did not hear anyone approaching from behind. He quickly turned sideways and looked back. I don't know when a beautiful blonde beauty with a calm temperament stood behind her. Her smooth blonde hair was spread over her shoulders, her delicate skin and facial features, and her blue eyes as clear as the sea. This is a beautiful beauty who exudes a cold temperament all the time. Garen was fine, but Grace was startled, her body twisted so fast that she almost sprained her feet. Sorry, the blonde woman smiled apologetically at the two of them, but she seemed not used to smiling, and her smile gave people a strange and awkward feeling. I am Imlalai's mother, Gamlalai. I am also the current great elder of the round dance section. Why are you all here at the July Gate? Garen was a little confused. He could smell a faint fragrance in his nose. Out of courtesy, he kept a little distance. Our round dance gate and the July Gate are actually both headquartered in Dina City, Gamulai explained. My daughter and I originally went out to buy some daily necessities and were just passing by here. We didn't expect to encounter Bayun Gate. You too. Although our round dance gate is insignificant compared to the July Gate, if you don't mind it, how about we invite you two to sit inside our gate for a while? Garen thought for a moment and then responded. Okay, I just want to visit the headquarters of Yuan Yuman. Gamulai has a cold temperament and her words are a bit stiff, but the look in her eyes when looking at Garen and the two is really sincere. Although the power of the round dance gate is not as strong as that of the July Gate, it does not seem to be weak. After a while, two old black cars slowly drove over and parked next to the four of them. Garen and Grace got into the car at the back, while Gamlalai and her daughter got into the car at the front. The two cars drove slowly toward the other end of Dina City. Half an hour later, Garen, Garmulili and senior sister Vika Yula were sitting opposite each other in the middle of a wooden martial arts gym. The martial arts gym is a rectangular structure, all wooden, and somewhat worn. The entrance is on the left side. Two pieces of white paper and black characters are hung on the walls at both ends. There are two different characters written on them, Wu and Wu. The reddish-brown wooden floor is neatly arranged and polished very smoothly. However, it is slightly chipped in some places, giving the impression that it has been aged for a while. Although it is dilapidated, the entire martial arts venue is filled with a faint aroma of incense, without the slightest smell of sweat, and it is obviously well maintained. There was a glass teacup in front of Garen. There was Yujing scented tea brewed in it. The pink and vermilion tea looked extremely beautiful and delicate in the teacup. The fine petals float in the tea, like pieces of red crystal, exuding a faint floral fragrance, giving people a strange and beautiful enjoyment. Senior brother Garen, thank you for taking care of me last time. Vika Yula was the leader of the round dance sect who was escorted back by Garen. At this time, she still looked petite, cute, and timid. Both of them were wearing pure black dresses and black stockings, which was obviously the standard GI uniform here. Gamulili made a gesture of inviting tea. Mr. Jialong, you have saved the master of our Yuanwu sect and several disciples including my daughter. Although we are just a small family, we also know that there is repayment of kindness and revenge. There is no problem with secret weapons and funds. If you need anything else, just say it, I will definitely do it for you on behalf of Yuan Yuman. Garen was indeed moved. How do you know what I need is secret weapon? Gamulili explained calmly, the people who come to July Gate recently are actually here mainly for these two things. I'm sorry, I'm just telling the truth. It doesn't matter. Garen could see that the round dance gate itself was not having a good time. Although the martial arts headquarters was large, it was so dilapidated that there was no money for maintenance and repairs. Even the Bayun gate was far behind. Considering that both sects are headquartered in Dina City, the answer is obvious. They are obviously squeezed hard by the July gate. Even though he himself was not well off, he gave generously just because of kindness. This was in sharp contrast to the attitude of the key women. Garen was actually a little ashamed. At first, he didn't pay any attention to the round dance sect at all, but just helped them along the way. He didn't expect that this humble little sect of women would be able to help him now. Actually, the funds are not needed. Galen thought carefully about how to word it. I don't have a big problem with Bayanman's funds, this is the truth. There are still tens of millions of funds on the books of the main library. This is in charge of finance. Fatih Bhavini took the initiative to hand over the sect funds managed by Kalayang Saman. Galleons are not short of money at all. When they heard that there was no shortage of funds, the eyes of the two people at Yuan Wumen immediately relaxed slightly, and they felt a little more grateful to Galen. Obviously their funds are not as tight as usual. In recent years, the martial arts gym has been unable to make ends meet, and its income has become increasingly tight. If Garen asked for money, they would definitely give it to them, but after giving it, it would be even more difficult. I came here not for money or anything else, but for secret martial arts, Garen said seriously. No problem. You can check the transcripts of all the secret weapons in our library, including the inherited secret weapons. Gamulili nodded in agreement. Inheriting the secret martial arts is the foundation of the section. I don't need it and it's not necessary. I just want to find some low-level secret martial arts to expand my martial arts ideas and use them as reference, Garen explained quickly. Anyway, how about I take you to the library right away? Gamulili stood up and asked resolutely. Well, Garen didn't expect the other party to be so anxious. Don't worry, let's have a casual chat and take a rest. That's fine. Gamulili also felt that she was a little too hasty and sat down slowly. Excuse me. Then it was Q/U0026 a time for 3 people. Garen asked, and the two answered. Both of them are the type who don't speak without asking her, and they don't seem to communicate much with others, and their tone of voice is a bit stiff. Garen asked casually and roughly understood the situation of the round dance door. We can also see what kind of character Yuan Wumen has. There are a total of 12 people in this sect, including 12 peripheral disciples. Because the martial arts school business followed the agile and nimble route, it was not good at selling, and it was suppressed by the more powerful key women, so the business was bleak and it was difficult to make ends meet. The day-to-day owner of the museum is Gamlili's father, an old man with a strong personality who wants to hold on to the inheritance passed down by his ancestors' life and death, but refuses to sell the current headquarters. leading to greater economic stress. Regardless of their superficial personalities, all the members in the entire martial arts gym, including Gamulili, are actually very strong and stubborn. He gritted his teeth and insisted on maintaining the martial arts school. Originally, as a secret martial arts sect, joining the Southern 12 Sect Alliance had fixed income benefits. This was also a key factor in joining the Yuanwu section. It was because of this money that they could barely maintain the operation of the martial arts gym. But now, the Lucerne Brotherhood, the strongest of the 12 South sects, has been exterminated. This sect is the leader and organizer of the 12 South sects, and it distributes the annual welfare funds. Now that this income is gone, business maintenance will be even more bleak. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 100. While the three of them were chatting, in another white and tidy room, Grace, Imlali, and another little girl were helping prepare pastries and lunch. Sister Grace, just go and have a rest. It's no problem for us to come here, Imlali tried to persuade her several times, but to no avail. It doesn't matter, these things are what I should do. A faint smile appeared on Grace's face. But it seems like I really don't need my help here. Then I'll go buy some daily necessities that I'll need in the next few days. Don't worry, you can go, but don't forget the way back. How about I accompany you, Imlali said, peeling a small potato in her hand. No need, Grace declined. Then be careful. Grace walked out of the kitchen, shook off the water drops on her hands, and a hint of gloom flashed across her face. She quickly walked out of the corridor, came to the yard, and walked directly towards the door. As soon as she went out, a small blue shadow rushed into her arms. It was a blue bird with a small white paper bag tied to its leg. Grace calmly took off the paper bag, looked around, and gently released the bird. Bluebirds fly very fast and silently, disappearing into the sky in the blink of an eye. Grace opened the paper package and found a small packet of white powder inside. There seemed to be words written on the paper. She looked at the contents on the paper and her face became colder. In the afternoon, the sky gradually darkened. There was no sunshine, only dense gray clouds, which seemed a bit depressing and heavy. Garin sat quietly in a bedroom with a round dance door. In front of him was a square low table, with 5 thin manuals placed on the white tabletop. There are no names on the manual. The faint scent of ink is faintly exuded. You actually gave me all the rare books. This is really true. Garin didn't know how to comment, but he did feel a sense of being valued. These 5 secret books were the secret books he had just obtained from the underground library of Yuanwu Men. He had originally selected them and planned to read them carefully, but unexpectedly, others simply gave him all the secret books. He searched a little more in the simple library, and after finding nothing else, he took Maiwu back to the arranged room to take a closer look. It only took more than an hour to go back and forth. 3 of these 5 secret martial arts books are tailor-made secret martial arts that only women can practice. I'll give them up, but we can still learn from them in martial arts. There are 2 books left. Garin's eyes fell on the one on the far right. On 2 books. Boulder Kung Fu and the Two-Handed Ancient Swordsmanship of Augustus. Boulder Kung Fu. Garin felt that the name was somewhat similar to Eastern martial arts, so he picked up the secret book and read it carefully. The pale yellow paper book has a pattern of a white lotus printed on it, and on the side are handwritten megalithic letters in federal script. Turn to the first page. Boulder Kung Fu originated from the East. It is a very popular hard qigong for the masses. After being practiced, it has a powerful effect of counter-attacking the opponent. Galen continued to turn over it, and what follows is a concise explanation of the specific postures, preparations, and time for practicing. There is no external medication to assist, but the time required for practice is very high. It must start at 1 o'clock in the morning and end at 3 o'clock in the evening. There are 3 specific levels, just 3 weird postures. The blood energy movement route and breathing method are very enlightening. The other Two-Handed Ancient Swordsmanship is a martial arts book that relies on spitting sounds and has a typical local style. It's a pity that the Howling Sword was kept in the main hall and was not brought out. Otherwise, we can carefully study the characteristics of the martial arts practiced by vocalization. Garen gently put down the two books. Boom, boom, boom. There was a slight knock on the door. Please come in. Garen slowly closed his eyes, placing his hands on the two secret books and thinking about something. The door opened slowly. Grace walked in with 2 cups of coffee. Garen, I'll bring you a cup of hot coffee. She came in wearing a very short white dress. The white panties between her legs could be vaguely seen in the thin black stockings under the white skirt. Her towering breasts almost exposed most of her fair skin. Gently placing the coffee tray next to the secret book on the table, she also slowly sat down opposite Garen. Seeing Garen's eyes closing, a trace of disappointment flashed across her face. She reached out and gently pulled her skirt down a little to cover the spring between her legs. Then she took out the coffee and placed it in front of the two of them. Please drink. Put it there first, Garen said calmly. The atmosphere in the room slowly became quiet. Garen was thinking about the problem, and Grace was feeling faintly restless. Grace, Garen suddenly spoke. Why did you follow me in the first place? Grace was silent for a moment. It's because of the company, maybe it's also because you spared my life. It's more because my master is the leader of the Bayun sect, right? Garen bluntly pointed out. Grace paused. Yes. Garen opened his eyes and looked calmly at the beautiful woman dressed in sexy clothes in front of him. There was no trace of sensuality in his eyes. Your family is one of the big families in Huaishan City and has great influence. Does your company want to do this, or does your family ask you to do this? Grace's eyes trembled, and finally she couldn't help but change color. Her breathing gradually became heavier. How did you tell? Garen smiled. When you found me at the station, I noticed that your heartbeat was very fast. You were not exercising strenuously and you were very calm on the surface, but your heartbeat accelerated in front of me. If you were an ordinary girl, maybe I would guess that this was because the other person liked you. It's your own reasons. But you won't. He looked at Grace sitting there with a deathly expression on her face, and continued, then you came in with coffee just now, and the 2 cups of coffee smelled different. Mine was obviously impure. Grace felt a chill in her heart. He looked at Garen, who was smiling softly in front of him, and suddenly felt that perhaps everyone had underestimated this ordinary man who was only 17 years old in front of him. That kind of medicine powder was clearly written on the star ring section. The smell of the medicine powder that was impossible for a secret warrior to distinguish was easily recognized by Garen. What level has his strength reached? Grace was confused for a moment. He looked into Garen's deep and clear red eyes and bit his lower lip gently. What are you going to do with me? Your heartbeat has accelerated again. Garen picked up the cup of coffee without the powder and took a sip. Are you afraid? What are you afraid of? When Grace thought about the information her family had obtained, she suddenly felt that her previous thoughts were too naive. I originally thought that Garen's information was too exaggerated, and since I didn't see it with my own eyes, I didn't really care. But now it seems that he killed more than 10 people along the way, all of them elite warriors. It's definitely not a lie. Garen sighed sadly. Actually, if I hadn't completely trusted anyone, your plan would have a high success rate. It's a pity. He closed his eyes, a trace of exhaustion on his face. You go. Grace opened her eyes suddenly and looked at him in disbelief. It seemed that he didn't believe what he said at all. You won't pursue it, she recalled Garen's usual dealing style. Although it was not cold, it was not gentle either. But he didn't expect to let him go in this matter. Let's go, our relationship ends here. Don't appear in front of me. I won't be so easy to talk to next time we meet, Garen said lightly. Grace's gray face gradually gained a trace of color. She slowly stood up and felt happy when she saw that Garen still didn't make any move. What an idiot. You actually let go the enemy who plotted against you. No wonder it turned out to be like this when you came back from a trip. It's obvious that you are too stupid. She slowly relaxed in her heart, even though she had such deep feelings for Garen. Yi's performance was very disdainful, but now she only dared to have some thoughts in her mind. Don't dare to show anything wrong at all. This is related to her life. The star ring gate is very strong. You have to be careful. She pretended to be guilty before leaving. Without waiting for a reply, she closed the door gently, walked briskly to the yard, and quietly breathed a sigh of relief after exiting the gate of Yuan Wumen Dojo. Although I didn't succeed, I managed to save my life. I have to report the situation back immediately. There is a big deviation in Garen's intelligence. She quickly hailed a taxi and got on it. Leaving the Yuan Wumen main hall dojo, we arrived at a remote corner on the outskirts of the city more than 10 minutes later. After paying the money, Grace got out of the car and walked into an alley. The alley was full of dirty and smelly homeless people. Get out of here, she kicked the thigh of a homeless man blocking the way and walked inside with a look of disgust on her face. I don't know who set the contact point to be in a place like this. Under the greedy gaze of a group of homeless people, she flashed the silver pistol on her waist, which immediately frightened some of the guys with bad intentions. She muttered and walked deep into the alley, took out a carving knife from the corner of the wall, and carved an inverted V symbol, then straightened up and turned around. Her face instantly turned pale, and she took a few steps back and hit the wall. Garen stood behind him at some point, looking at the mark she had carved with interest. Is this your contact code? He walked over and touched the wall. Suddenly, a layer of white stone powder fell down, and the code mark was easily erased. Grace, I thought you were a friend. It's a pity. Didn't you say let me go? Grace's heart was beating hard, and a layer of sweat broke out all over her body. Bang! Garen squeezed her neck hard with one arm and pushed her against the wall. Give it a gentle push. Click. The neck bones were broken at once, and the luster of Grace's eyes gradually dimmed. Her originally violent struggle gradually weakened, and finally came to a complete standstill. There was no sound, no one was alerted, and she died silently. I really didn't intend to kill you just now, Garen said lightly. After all, it would be inappropriate to let you die in the Yuan Wumen dojo. After all, it is someone else's place. Unknowingly, after killing so many people along the way, his heart had already become extremely calm.